We've all heard about sleep paralysis, that moment between dreaming and waking when your body is frozen and something feels wrong. Tonight, you'll hear 3 true stories from people who've lived through it and what they saw staring back at them when they couldn't move. Turn off the lights, and don't look behind you when you can't breathe. These are 3 sleep paralysis demon stories that actually happened.
The thing on the ceiling. Part 1, I've never believed in the supernatural. Sleep paralysis was just a term I'd read online. A glitch between your body and your brain. That was before it started happening. The first time, I woke up unable to move. My eyes were open, but my body felt like concrete. The room was dimly lit by the street lamp outside, casting long shadows over the ceiling. And that's when I saw it, a shape, flat and black, like liquid darkness, slowly sliding along the plaster above me. At first, I thought it was my imagination. My breathing quickened, but no sound came out. Then it stopped, right above my face. It didn't have features, just a vague outline of limbs stretched too long, too thin. I blinked hard, trying to wake myself. My heart hammered so loudly I could hear in my ears. But the thing began to move again, dragging itself across the ceiling, closer to the wall above my bed. It clung there, twisted its neck, if it had one, and turned its head toward me. That was the moment I realized it wasn't the shadows moving. It was me who couldn't stop watching it. When I finally jerked awake, gasping, the room was empty. My clock read 3:14 a.m. I told myself it was just a dream, that I'd imagined it. But the next night it came back. Only this time, it wasn't crawling. It was hanging, directly above me, motionless. And when I blinked, it blinked too. Part 2, the third night, I went to bed with the lights on. Didn't help. When I woke up, the room was dark again, my lamp off, though I never touched it. And it was there, hanging from the ceiling like a shadow stitched into the plaster, limbs spread wide. I tried to move my fingers, to twitch my legs, to make any sound at all. Nothing. My chest barely rose. My breath felt shallow, like someone was pressing down on me. Then I heard it, a soft scratching. Not loud, just enough to feel inside my ears. It was dragging its nails slowly, rhythmically across the ceiling. Right above me, I wanted to scream. Instead, tears ran down my face, and I couldn't even blink them away. Then it spoke, a voice that didn't echo. It just vibrated through my skull. "I'm learning your shape." My pulse went wild. I tried to close my eyes, but they wouldn't shut. It began to move again, this time down the wall, crawling on all fours like it was defying gravity. Each movement was quiet but deliberate, slow, like it enjoyed taking its time. When it reached the corner of the room, it stopped, turned its head, and whispered again, "Don't look up tomorrow." The next thing I remember was gasping, sitting up, drenched in sweat. My clock said 3:17 a.m., and my ceiling fan, the one I hadn't used in months, was spinning. Part 3, I didn't sleep the next night. I sat on the couch, TV on mute, every light burning. But around 3 a.m., the air in the apartment changed, thicker, heavier, like the oxygen had weight. And even though I fought it, my eyes started to close on their own. When I woke up, I was in bed. Not the couch, not where I'd fallen asleep. And the ceiling was moving. It wasn't crawling this time. It was breathing. The plaster pulsed, in and out, like lungs pressing against a thin layer of paint. I couldn't move, but my eyes darted around just enough to see something shift in the corner. A long, black arm slid out of the wall and gripped the ceiling, fingers like knives dragging against it. Then another, and another, until the whole thing, that shape, began pulling itself down toward me. It didn't fall. It descended weightless, until its face was inches above mine. For the first time, I saw its eyes, not glowing, not monstrous, just 2 dark holes that reflected my own. It spoke softly, almost kind. "You're watching me now the way I watch you." My heart stopped. I could feel my pulse against the pillow, but nothing else. Then, slowly, its body folded back up toward the ceiling, vanishing into the plaster, like water, soaking into cloth. I woke up screaming. The walls were silent. The fan was still. And on my ceiling, a single black handprint. That morning, I moved out. But last night in my new apartment, I woke up at 3:17 a.m. The ceiling looked fine, until it blinked.
She sits on my chest. Part 1. I started working the night shift at the factory 3 months ago. At first, it wasn't so bad. Quiet, steady pay, nobody around to bother me. But after 2 weeks of barely sleeping in daylight, something changed. The first time it happened, I woke up thinking I was suffocating. My eyes were open, but I couldn't move, couldn't even twitch my fingers. The air felt thick, like the entire room was underwater. Then I noticed the weight. Something, or someone, was sitting on my chest. I couldn't see clearly, my vision blurred, corners of the room trembling. But there was a shape. A woman's shape. She wasn't looking at me at first, her head tilted down, black hair covering her face. I could hear the faint sound of breathing, deep and wet, like lungs full of smoke. When she finally turned toward me, her face was wrong, too still, too smooth, as if it was painted on. I tried to scream, to shake her off, but my body didn't listen. Her hand moved slowly toward my neck, and that's when I heard her whisper, "You left the door open." I woke up gasping, heart hammering against my ribs. The room was empty. The clock said 3:03 a.m. I laughed it off as stress, or maybe sleep paralysis. I'd heard about it before. But that morning, when I went to work, my coworker Mark asked me something that froze me cold. He said, "Hey, did you leave the security door unlocked last night?" Someone was inside the hallway at 3 a.m. I hadn't told anyone what time I'd woken up. She sits on my chest. Part 2. The next few nights were worse. Every time I tried to sleep, I felt her presence before I even drifted off. Like the room itself was waiting for me to close my eyes. On the 4th night, I told myself I'd stay awake no matter what. I sat in bed, scrolling on my phone, trying to drown the fear with noise. At 2:56 a.m., the screen flickered and went black. No power cut, no battery warning, just dead. Then came the cold. The kind that seeps into your skin, not from outside, but from underneath. I couldn't move again. And even before I saw her, I knew she was there. This time, she wasn't sitting on me. She was standing beside the bed, head tilted, hair hanging in front of her face. I could see her shoulders rise and fall as she breathed. And then, she leaned close, her lips brushing my ear. "You work where it happened." Her voice was soft, but the words made my stomach twist. She pressed her hand against my chest. And suddenly, I saw flashes in my head. A metal hallway, a factory gate, red lights blinking, and someone screaming. I woke up drenched in sweat, gasping, my chest aching as if someone had punched me. It was 3:03 a.m. again. At work, I asked Mark if anything strange had ever happened in the factory. He went pale. "You mean the accident?" I stared at him. "What accident?" He hesitated before saying, "You really don't know. The woman who used to clean the night shift, she died here. 3 years ago. Crushed under a pallet machine. Room 12. That's the room I sleep in during my break. She sits on my chest." Part 3. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed at the factory, determined to prove it was all in my head. I brought a thermos of coffee, my flashlight, and my phone camera ready to record. By 2:45 a.m., the building was silent, only the hum of the machines in standby. I sat in the break room, staring at the clock, waiting. When it hit 3 o'clock, the temperature dropped like someone had opened a freezer. I turned on my flashlight. The beam shook in my hand as I walked toward room 12. The smell hit me before I reached the door, not rot, but metal and wet air, like rain on blood. The lights inside flickered once, then went out completely. The flashlight sputtered, and in that brief blink, I saw her, crouched near the pallet machine, the same hair, the same still face. Her head turned, too fast to be natural. "You didn't close it." My chest tightened instantly. I dropped the flashlight, body locking up as if invisible hands pressed me to the floor. She began crawling toward me, not walking, crawling, limbs bending wrong, palms slapping the concrete. I tried to scream, to move, but it was sleep paralysis again, while I was awake. She reached me, climbed onto my chest, and whispered, "You left it open again." The weight crushed my ribs. I could barely breathe. Then, for the first time, I saw her face clearly.
It wasn't hers. It was mine, pale, terrified, gasping for air. When I woke up, the sun was rising through the dirty windows. I was lying on the cold floor, the machines quiet. But across the room, the metal door of the pallet machine stood wide open. And on the wall above it, someone had written in red grease pencil, "Close it, or she will."
The mirror at the foot of the bed. Part 1, when my therapist told me to face my fears, I didn't think she meant it literally. I've had sleep paralysis for years. Always the same. Wake up frozen, heart racing, and something watching. So I decided to try her advice. I bought a mirror. A tall, old-fashioned mirror with a wooden frame, slightly warped from age. I placed it at the foot of my bed, telling myself that if I could look at my reflection during paralysis, I'd remember it wasn't real. That night, I felt proud, confident even. I was in control. I woke up at 3:18 a.m. Couldn't move. At first, it was the usual, heavy chest, ringing in my ears, eyes darting side to side. But this time, I wasn't staring at the ceiling. I was staring into the mirror, and my reflection wasn't moving. I blinked once. My reflection didn't. It just lay there, eyes open, watching me. Then it smiled. The air left my lungs all at once. I couldn't look away. Its head began to tilt slowly, like it was curious. And when it finally spoke, its lips didn't move. The sound came from inside my room. "You shouldn't watch yourself sleep." The reflection started to breathe, chest rising and falling faster than mine. And then I saw it. Behind my reflection, in the mirror's background, someone standing in the corner. A figure, tall, still, featureless. But there was no one behind me in the real room. When I woke up, the mirror was turned to face the wall. I live alone. The mirror at the foot of the bed. Part 2, the next morning, I convinced myself I'd done it in my sleep, turned the mirror around out of panic. But deep down, I knew I hadn't moved. My body doesn't move during paralysis. That night, I set up my phone camera on the dresser, facing the mirror. I wanted proof. If it was all in my head, I needed to see it. At 3:17 a.m., I woke again, eyes open, body locked, staring straight at the mirror. Except now, it was already turned toward me. I hadn't moved it. The reflection lay still for a moment, then blinked twice, slow, deliberate, while my real eyes stayed open. Then it sat up. Not me. It swung its legs off the bed and stood facing the mirror. And in the reflection, behind it, I could see myself still lying there, frozen. It turned toward me, leaned closer, and said in my own voice, "You're facing the wrong way." The moment shattered. I woke up screaming, sitting upright, gasping for air. My phone was still recording, red light blinking. I opened the video file with shaking hands. At first, it was dark, then static. Then, just before the clip ended, the mirror turned slightly on its own. No sound, no wind, nothing touching it. It turned toward the bed, and for half a second, the reflection smiled. The mirror at the foot of the bed. Part 3, I should have thrown the mirror out right then. But curiosity's a disease. You keep feeding it even when you know it's killing you. So I didn't get rid of it. I moved it closer. That night, I placed the mirror right beside the bed, so I could see my reflection even lying down. I told myself I'd break the pattern, that by staring at it, I'd prove I was in control. I was wrong. I woke at 3:18 a.m. Not paralyzed this time, at least not yet. My eyes adjusted to the dark, and I saw my reflection lying next to me, face tilted slightly toward mine. It blinked once, then its lips moved. "You're awake too early." I froze. My reflection sat up slowly, like it didn't need muscles to move, only intent. Its hand reached out, touching the glass, but on my side, the mirror rippled like the surface of water. I felt cold fingertips brush my arm. Then I was frozen again. I couldn't move, couldn't scream, only stare as it leaned closer through the glass. The face that came out wasn't exactly mine anymore. It was stretched, smiling too wide. It pressed its mouth near my ear. I've been the one waking up. My vision went black. When I opened my eyes, it was daylight. The mirror was gone. Not broken gone. Only the wooden frame remained, lying empty on the floor beside my bed. And in the reflection of my phone screen, behind me, something moved.